Let's bring in Tamer Qarmout, Assistant Professor of Public Policy at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. Tamer, how significant is this meeting of Palestinian factions?
Sarah, it's very significant, given all what's happening, the war and all the consequences of the Israeli war. There is a huge pressure on both Hamas and Fatah to reconcile and end the Palestinian split once and forever. Palestinians expect from the two leaders, from the two movements, to put together a unified plan that looks into agreeing on a strategy to liberate Palestine, how to engage with the peace process, many big important files. So they need, that's the time for it to do it, because otherwise, I mean, Israel is very vocal and clear about its plans for the day after, which could involve imposing some administrative and governance structures on the Gaza Strip away from the Palestinian Authority. And they have been vocal about it. They don't want any involvement from the Palestinian Authority in running the Gaza Strip the day after this war is over.
Yeah, Netanyahu has said, well, obviously no Hamas, since they're out to defeat Hamas, no Palestinian Authority. And last week's plan presented by Netanyahu for what would happen in post-war Gaza, he wants people with management experience, but that would be approved of, rubber stamped by Israel.
Yes, correct. And this is rejected by all Palestinians, so including Fatah.
Yes.
So now what's happening here is that if we look at Hamas, Hamas is regarded as a terrorist movement by many Western countries, including the US and Israel. Russia is one of the few big powers that recognizes Hamas and have no issues engaging with Hamas. I mean, they have very normal relations with Hamas, and they consider it as a legit Palestinian resistance movement. And they have invited Hamas leadership many times to Moscow. And also they have normal relations with Fatah as well. So the timing is important for the Palestinians, at the same time for the Russians, because the Russians want to send a message that they remain relevant. Why? Because Russia is a member of the UN Quartet. The Quartet is the body that was established in 2002 to facilitate the peace process, and it includes the UN, the US, the EU, and Russia. So Russia has a role historically since the establishment of the peace process in 1994. So the Russians again are sending a signal that they are relevant, despite the Ukraine war and all the isolation they face internationally, but they have a say in this as well. Now the question is, will they be able to really make a breakthrough when it comes to this?
Okay, that was going to be my question. Just a reminder of viewers, Fatah and Hamas have been bitter rivals ever since Hamas kicked Fatah out of Gaza, and this was, what, sorry, my math is bad, 17 years ago.
So yes, so what happened is in 2006, Palestine had free elections, according to all international observers, and Hamas won. But what happened next, and at the time the UN Quartet was present there, led by Tony Blair, they took a position of immediately sanctioning Hamas and boycotting Hamas because of its refusal to recognize Israel. And Hamas was immediately isolated. And cynically, Tony Blair himself, when he stepped down as the envoy of the Quartet, he admitted in 2017 that this decision was wrong.
Yes,
and
so 10 years after the fact.
He regretted this decision because Hamas was elected democratically, and he was of the opinion of that we should have engaged with Hamas better than isolating it, because now we're dealing with these consequences of isolating Hamas. I mean, this also has to do with the current war now.
And they've never reconciled, just because I have to run, so I need you to keep this brief. They've never reconciled. Do you think now, with the pressure of this war, they could? That could be what spurs them to reconcile?
Well, they should, and if they fail, it will be a disaster for the Palestinians themselves. So the expectations, the pressure is on them to reconcile. So they need the political will to do it. So they can do it anywhere. It doesn't need to be Moscow. It could be even over a phone conference. So it doesn't, but let's wish that they have the political will this time to do it.
All right, Tamer Qarmout, thank you very much for shedding light on all of that and the context. Thank you.